and tied into the scale of downtown.
Certainly, and we'll be glad to work with anyone who wants to help us with that. You always want to be careful, and we want your input on this because we don't want to make the building look too nice. People may feel that we're building too nice of a facility for a jail. We don't want to go on that end either. So it's kind of a delicate line, and we want to make sure that we have your input so that doesn't happen as well. We can design it to be beautiful, but we don't want to get people to think it's too nice.
If you want it beautiful, we'll make it beautiful.
Yeah.
We may want to design it to look like a tent. That would.
Thanks a lot,
A couple of good things I saw, utilizing existing properties and infrastructure like the tunnel, the existing jail, existing county-owned properties and buildings, and especially tearing down that Carlton Hotel. I think that's all very good, and the location of it, this came from the Carter Global League. Exploration of it is where it's sited. I think is probably the best place in downtown Tyler. You're sparing an area to the north of Ferguson Street, which I think in the Tyler 21 master planning and revitalization downtown, these are areas that can easily accommodate more economic growth, county tax base and city tax base. So thank you for not interfering with that. And encroaching on some businesses and neighborhoods that are already established in that area. Again, the footprint was good, especially with the future purchase of the fire station, where you could expand another wing off of that jail and tie it in. And most of the existing jail is covered up by the new construction. There's a few parts up there exposed. I don't know if there's some way to isolate some elements or something like that that would kind of, I'm not saying screen existing jail, but bring the existing design over to it or something like that to tie it in a little bit. And again, thanks a lot. I think it was a good. One other thing, the cost that I was looking at up there, I saw 86 million before soft costs and all that, and someone helped me. I think on the last bond issue it was 89 million, and that didn't include furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So is this actually cheaper than the last bond issue?
Yeah, if that's what your last bond issue was, yeah.
It was 89 million.
I don't know what the last one was.
It was 89 million.
No, I have the ballot information right here. It was 83, Ron.
It was 83 million? Okay.
I believe that was a few more beds.
Yeah, it was 1,600 and, let's see here, 1,632 beds, 1,692 beds.
And obviously that was a different style of jail. That was primarily a two-story design, I believe, throughout, and took up more of a greater footprint. So it was a different style of jail. My understanding from talking to people in the construction industry, 15 to 20% more when you go with a high-rise type facility. Plus the cost, the escalation cost over the course of the year.
Well, it also takes advantage of the existing infrastructure and the existing jail too, which you pay a price for that, but I think you gain in the long run over using those existing facilities.
I was thinking it was 70-something million for the one outside the loop and 83 million for the one downtown.
Yeah, this is from the ballot information. It was 75 million for outside of downtown and 83 for inside downtown.
Thank you, Ron. Additional questions from the task force or the court?
I got one comment. I want to say I really like the layout as well. I think it's well thought out. I like the separation of the low risk from the medium and high. But I agree with Ron. I'd like to see us work a little bit on the facade and streetscape because this being a downtown facility is going to be here for 80 years, and we need to make sure that we build it like it's going to be here for 80 years. The one question I have is if we were to shell out the fifth floor of the main tower, in today's dollars, what kind of cost are we talking about to finish it out?
We estimated that between $6.5 million to add that additional floor.
How about a finish out?
Yeah,
Oh, to finish out. Okay.
If you were to finish the rest of the floor.
I think basically double that.
Well, we had actually, you know what, we had
That's a little tough to tell. I would say you're probably right, Kurt. It's probably double. Might even be a little bit.
It depends on the type of bed. If you were to put some dormitory beds up there, which you could do, those are obviously less expensive to build. There's a lot less walls and plumbing associated with those kinds of beds. If you were to put single cells in there, then some of those are much more expensive.
Right.
So it depends a lot on that.
What about if we were to do the same thing with the low risk, the half a floor that could be shelled out now? What would we be talking about to shell it out now, and then what would a finish out in today's dollars be?
I hadn't actually gotten my calculator out on that one. Do you remember how the size?
You're talking about this right here.
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
Right.
Of course, 3,000. Much less. It's less square footage. We're probably talking 14,000 square feet to shell out there. So
I don't know, what were we saying?
2.5,
Yeah,
$3 million to shell
I
it.
would say between 2.5 and 3 million. That's the-
And then what?
And then again, I double that to finish it.
And the reason I ask is just to point out, with the fifth floor shell out, if that was to be done in the 288 beds, and then the low risk, just the 96 beds, would get us past our 20-year number. So if we were to shell those out, to finish those out, would get us to our 20-year CGL projections on daily beds.
And I'll say this, I'm in favor of shelling it out if we can get the community to buy into that. I think that's the smart thing to do it within the building that we're going to spend a lot of money on anyway. So we're not back in this situation again, where we have to build an additional building, even if it's the fire station that's available or something else. But again, we got to get the community to support that.
Jill, I have a question.
Okay.
Will the structure, as you designed it, accommodate an additional higher floor level for purposes of future expansion?
We can design it to do that. Obviously, we can do that. That's an option. And in the planning phases, and when you're designing the building, add a little bit more reinforcing steel, a little more concrete, and then you can support another level on the building. However, on a facility that's perhaps 5 stories already, 100 feet high, adding a story onto the top of that is very difficult. You have to bring in a lot of cranes. You're building on top of an occupied building, so it's kind of difficult to do. The low risk facility to build that on at a later date would be easier. But then again, you're not talking about that much money to put that shell on there now either. But certainly it's something we can look at. Oh, it's a good point, Larry. You have to have a flat roof in order to do that. So we take our sloped roof off.
Well, or the slope would kind of be like icing on a cake.
Yeah, you could take it off in the future.
Edward, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
I'll yield to Ron if you don't mind. I'll come back.
Oh, sure. Okay.
I just had a question on expansion, especially the expansion at the minimum risk security.
I'd like to say one thing. No question. Thank you, fellas. You've done a wonderful job. All we need to do is get started. A little minor thing, I'm working on.
Thank you.
So I make a recommendation, let's go with it.
Thank you.
On the future expansion, either on the additional floor or maybe both, the expansion at the minimum risk area, if those were shelled in, could those be utilized for a different use until that space is needed?
Such as storage or?
Such as storage, or if you're displacing something from the other?
Yeah,
So-
you could.
So it would be just built and not used for a period of time?
Right, you have to look at access to it because it's a